Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Spiritual Fitness. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today afternoon with your host, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. We are close to 15 members on Zoom and close to 50 members watching us live on Facebook. Good afternoon, Vaish. Welcome to Spiritual Fitness today.
Thank you very much, JM. Great to see you and great to see all of you. Thank you very much for coming back. Just the thought of getting spiritually fit sits well with me because I know from experience that when I approach that level of my existence, it's like watering the root. If you've ever had a plant that was flagging because it didn't have enough water, and you came home late, weren't able to feed your plant, and then you gave it some water, and then it came right back to life. That's how I feel when I'm able to take the time necessary each day to attend to watering my spiritual root. That's really the purpose of this meeting, this program we've been having, because all of you work very hard and have many different components in your life that you're miraculously balancing all at the same time. It's amazing what humans do, and all of you are working at a very high level. I say that having met many of you in the corporate environment, and from the logic of taking one grain of rice from a pot of rice and then being able to understand how the rest of the rice is faring in the cooking process. So it's heartfelt coming back here and just having a little time to gain perspective. That's what I always hope to do while we have this discussion, is gain perspective, using the wisdom that's been passed down through trusted entities who have dedicated their lives to higher principles like compassion, gratitude, and who really try to lay down the process in writing and by their own examples so that it becomes a vehicle for us. That is, the process itself becomes a vehicle. What kind of vehicle? Well, one of the metaphors that's used in the ancient writings is a boat. The world sometimes is compared in these ancient scripts that talk about wisdom and the practice of yoga to be an ocean. And several metaphors you might be able to relate to nowadays. One of them is in a Sanskrit verse that says, Kalir dosha nidhe rajan asti hekal mahan gunan. It says that in this particular age, the world is an ocean of faults. Dosha means fault. So, everywhere we look, there's some problem, some difficulty, some anomaly. But if you have the right boat, you can cross over this ocean of faults. Do you ever think of it as an ocean of faults? Water everywhere, not a drop to drink, problems everywhere. So really a few ideas or even one can go a long way, because our minds are very powerful. And if we pick up the right algorithm and we apply it properly, it helps us to rise above the faults, to be on that boat that keeps us above the fray, above the water. My spiritual master used to say that you don't have to be miles above it. Even if you're 1 inch above the water, you don't drown. So it may be helpful to get some of that wisdom. So thank you. Thank you very much for taking your valuable time for this today. Let's start off just with a little centering, if we might. That's by sitting up a little straighter than you were when you came. And by the way, feel free, anybody who wants, it's okay in this program, turn your cameras on. It's also okay if you're more comfortable behind it, but I'm just saying either way, it's fine. And I'm happy to see you. And I don't even care if you're in your pajamas. So, feel free, be yourself. It's nice to see you, but don't feel obligated also. So let's sit up straight, just a tiny bit straighter than you were a second ago. And you'll notice that just by the way you sit, you can help to bring your mind to attention. In fact, this is one of the points that's brought up in the section on meditation in the Bhagavad Gita. And sitting and the seat that you choose can be helpful. It helps facilitate your meditation. Not the seat shouldn't be too high or too low. This is the direction. And hopefully it's situated in a quiet place. So if you find a place in your home where you can sit without being disturbed and you're not in danger of falling off your seat, and it just feels comfortable in the right place. And then close your eyes so you can center inwardly and take a moment to relax, but be alert and bring your mind to your breath. And in regulating your breath, you can also slow the mind down. It's uncanny how the breath and the mind are interconnected. And if you just take time to notice your breath and then take nice even breaths and make sure that you're taking advantage of your lung space, you don't have to overextend, but if you're getting healthy breaths, you'll notice that you start to calm down a little bit and come to the center. So try to do that. And when you're exhaling, you can mentally think out. And when you're inhaling, mentally think in, or mentally say in. And be alert and aware of your breath. And as you breathe and you're aware, notice that a moment ago you weren't aware of your breath, perhaps. You may have been aware of many things, but maybe not your breath. But now, because you chose to, deliberately, you're aware of your breath. So one of the first lessons of meditation is that you control your attention. It is part of you. You are, in other terms, a unit of attention. You are attention, you have attention, you can extend it wherever you wish. And where your attention goes, your energy will flow. That's a law of the universe. So be aware and intentional about where you place it. This is one of the first practices of meditation. It's the exhilaration of knowing that you have free will. And there's always recourse, because you can adjust your attention no matter where you are, no matter what's going on around you externally. Your attention can be adjusted by your will. So breathe and take a moment to be grateful for your breath, because gratitude brings you into the present moment. Why should you be grateful for your breath? Because it's a gift. You can't do without it, and it's coming to you all day long, refreshing you, keeping you alive. And now, as the witness, notice that you're sitting within a body. It's not that you're your body, it's that you're in a body. And just for a moment, be aware that you're in a body. And you can notice that you're the one watching the different aspects of your body. For instance, you can move your attention now to your hands. You were born with tiny little hands. They developed over time. You learned how to use them in different ways. They're instruments that you use. You're not your hands. You don't say I hand, you say my hand. And now move your attention to your feet and notice that you have feet. You're not your feet, but it's a feature of your body. And now bring your attention to your heart region. This is said to be the seat of consciousness. The heart chakra, the seat of emotion. You're a sentient being, so you have a sense of emotion. And according to the ancient teachings of yoga, there's a vibrational center within your heart. And you can harmonize that vibrational center with the mantra Om. So now, as you're keeping your awareness within the heart region, I'm going to play a note and repeat the mantra Om 3 times with every exhalation. And please try it if you wish, making this vibration, and just let the sound resonate within your heart region. And we'll do one more time, but feel the vibration in the region of your heart as you say the syllables O-M, Om. On the exhalation, and just notice that the vibration of the mantra enters within your ears, it goes into your body, and it has consequences, as do all sound vibrations that we allow to enter our ears. And just try to now be aware of your own awareness. Don't be a human doing, just be a human being for a moment. Allow yourself to be without doing. No need to do anything. Just be aware of your awareness. And bring your awareness back to your breath. And rub your hands together to bring some external sensation to your body, and open your eyes. And welcome back. So there's a process through which we can nourish ourselves every day, coming to awareness, and then also bringing in energy from a different stratum. This is called mantra meditation. There's a lot of vibrations around us every day. And the vibration of the mantra is a benevolent vibration. It's like a friend coming with a helping hand that helps to give us a point of focus, but more than that, it's uplifting. It pulls us to a higher realm. So in that sense, the word avatar, we've heard many times, probably from different presentations about avatars, but the word actually in Sanskrit means an entity that descends from a higher region to a lower region to assist. So there's a sense in which through the mantra, we're getting energy from a higher level that's coming to help us. And that sometimes is necessary because it's hard to get out of our own way sometimes. The mind is so oppressive. So the mantra meditation, beginning with Omkar, this Om, the syllable, single syllable, very powerful in starting your meditations, and we'll do a little bit more at the end. We'll save some time. So now I just want to introduce a few topics about today's subject, which is that yoga brings the teachings of the various energies that we encounter. So it breaks the world into categories of energy. And this can be helpful because if we know what those categories are and we deal with them appropriately, we can help ourselves just by positioning, by proximity. It helps to know what we're dealing with. So just to simplify it, there are higher energies and lower energies. And they also, these various energies have purposes. And if we're aware of them, we can be more deliberate in how we work with them. So let's look at a couple of the slides. And then we'll also have some discussion. And discussion, you can write in the chat box at any time, feel free. Any thoughts you have, just let them fly. And also, you can speak up in the Zoom room also. It's a totally open forum, so you can unmute and just express yourself, and I will acknowledge you, and you can just reflect or ask questions or anything like that to expand the conversation. Does that sound okay? Okay. So, rising above limitations. Obviously, we have processes through which we deal with our existential situation. And that situation may include limitations. Actually, the wisdom literatures describe that we don't give ourselves enough credit, nor do we allow ourselves to realize our full potential. And therefore, there are millions of ways in which we compose lifestyles, practices to unveil our higher potential. For instance, if you go on YouTube, you'll find literally tens of thousands of videos describing how to overcome bad habits, how to develop good new habits, how to be motivated, etc. So yoga is a specific term, and one of the aspects of yoga is described as the art of living in the world so that we can get the most out of it. And today's topic will be one of the perennial topics of the yoga philosophy, which is about three main forces that we contend with on a moment-to-moment basis. We may not even know we are contending with them. And they are karma, time, and the three modalities. Karma, time, and the three modalities. So let's take a look at a few points. And that is how we're bound by illusion. First is, well, this picture, I actually tested it out before I came on here. It took me a few minutes to stare at it before it would switch between an old woman and a young woman. And once I see it one way, then I can see it both ways. Yesterday, when I was walking with my wife over by Mavericks Beach here in California, it's an expansive cove area, and there was a little bit of fog, and we couldn't tell on the horizon whether it was land or fog mass. It was so densely packed. It looked like maybe it could be land mass reaching around, or it could have been fog. I still don't know to what extent it was land or fog. And interestingly, in the very first verse of one of the most famous books on yoga, it describes of the illusory nature of the world and how we see land on water and we see water on land. Has anybody ever seen water on land that wasn't actually there? Yeah. Like in the desert? And yesterday I saw land on water that probably wasn't there either. But if we go deeply within even modern science, we find theories about matter and how it's far less substantial than we might imagine. It's constantly morphing, and it is a kind of vibrational energy. Although I accept various categories of things like tables, chairs, horses, cats, dogs, people, and so forth, these forms are constantly changing. Just as when we're in a dream, we may see the person of our dreams, and then a few minutes later, that person, even a few seconds later, milliseconds in a dream, that person transforms into an ogre who we're running away from. Possible? Well, it's also possible in our so-called awakened life. We connect with the person of our dreams, and then we may be running away from him or her at a certain time because everything changes. So one of the first statements given in the yoga wisdom literatures is be aware that you're in a ephemeral environment. It's constantly changing. To accept it as permanent, to accept it as substance, non-substance as substance is a kind of madness, or at least it will make us mad. Mad is as in mad as a hatter, because when things are, when we try to hold on to that which is ephemeral, constantly changing, it's dumbfounding. It is confounding, and it leads to a kind of constant anxiety. So how are we bound by illusion? One of the ways is fear of non-existence. Because I'm identifying with the changing world. We can come back in the gallery just for a second. I'll just make 2 points. There are many to be made about illusion or illusory, identifying myself with the illusory world, but one of them is the fear of death. I know this is almost a taboo topic, talk about death. And if you don't believe me, then if you meet people for the holidays, and they, not that we're going to be meeting a lot of people for the holiday in person, but if you happen to, and somebody says, well, what do you want to talk about? And you say, let's talk about death. People are like, where'd you come from? We thought of talking about something a little lighter than that. But the fact is, death is an interesting topic. I mean, what is it? And this is one of the topics in the yoga wisdom literature that is described as a fear of non-existence. So this is how various yoga philosophies put it, and that is the you that you were examining a minute ago, the awareness, the unit of awareness that you are, is not a product of material combination or some kind of combustion that takes place when certain chemicals come together. As there are some modern theories, unprovable theories about how the brain is actually the self, But the ancient wisdom teaches that there's a dichotomy. There's a difference between conscious energy and non-conscious energy. You're conscious energy. That's why you're able to observe yourself. Your body, on the other hand, remember you looked at your hands and feet, fingers and toes, they come and go. They're like a garment that you're wearing, and garments wear out. You get a new one. So we're constantly changing. But when I oblige myself to, or I invest myself in the changing energy of this world, it becomes a constant source of fear because I'm afraid of non-existence, that what I'm attached to is going to go away. So here's a point, and that is that, the philosopher Kant made this point. He said, die to live. Die to live. What does that mean? Can anybody say? What that aphorism means? Die to live. Badri is going to say, I can tell.
Yeah. If you're not afraid of death, then you will actually experience the life and you will start living, free from that fear.
Bravo. As usual. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, really, everything we have now will be, at one time or another, ceremoniously or unceremoniously, it will be taken from us. So, death just means it happens all at one time. And if there's a way in which you've already accepted that fact, the idea of death becomes less onerous or not onerous at all. So this idea of die to live means die to the idea that I'm actually a temporary body, or this world, I'm in a permanent situation. Because once you have that, then you can actually live in the moment. Then the journey becomes the reward, and not that I'm living for preservation, because that's impossible. Then the second illusion that's talked about is the illusion of separateness. I see separateness, for instance, in other living beings. This is a cause of envy, because I interpret my environment that somebody's different than I am. We can see this issue comes up over and over again in the case of, like, you look different than I do, therefore, there's a fear, or there's an oppression or an exclusion based on that. The vision of somebody who's beyond illusion is described in great wisdom literatures all over the world, but Bhagavad Gita puts it very succinctly, and that is that a wise person, a pundit, is one who sees beyond the covering that is the body, and actually sees every being as equal on the spiritual platform, and therefore has respect for every living being. That's a powerful emotion, to have respect for all living beings, because of not seeing the external frame as the self. So, and it's not restricted just to humans. There's also a respect for all life that is instilled upon the heart of a person who's beyond illusion. So, what is the consciousness and the experience of someone who has no envy of living of others and no fear of death? What would that feel like? Well, that's what spiritual realization feels like. It's a great relief. That's what's to be attained. And it's not something fanciful, and it's also not a mental concoction. It's actually reality. So seeing reality is important, and as it's beyond illusion. Let's do a couple more slides, and we'll, I'm sure, evoke some responses and conversation. Oh, but before we do, I want to take a few minutes for Jai Madhava Prabhu, who is the organizer behind these various programs, the brains behind the operation. And he has a couple of points to present about available aspects of this spiritual fitness. Go ahead, JM.
Thanks so much. So I wanted to give a quick announcement. I'll share my screen. First is the December Spiritual Fitness Challenge is now open. You can go and continue. Thanks to everyone who has been participating. We did have a good response in the month of November. Please continue to do so in December as well. And for others, you can please go to vaisheshikadas.com/spiritual fitness challenge, and please take a look if you like to participate. It's been personally for me has been very helpful, and I'm sure it will be for you all as well. Next is I do have a quick 5-minute survey which we are sending out. So I'll quickly show the survey itself. So we are planning for programs for next year, and we will benefit tremendously from your input and feedback on what all you're liking and what we can do better, as well as what something we should start to do. That will be also helpful. Also, there are a few programs we are envisioning, like overcoming confusion, managing restlessness, cultivating peacefulness, 6 principles for finding your power, spiritual fitness, body, mind, spirit, as well as spiritual fitness for leaders. So there are certain programs we are planning, and there are some details given here. So if you can just go through and select top 5 items that interest you. So out of all those which I mentioned, as well as there are other also which based on the conversation, like karma, decision making, habits, mantra meditation, etc., are available. So if you can select 5 of those, that will guide us what kind of program that we should put in place next year. And do mention any other topic which we missed to include here, but you think it's really interesting to you. Please do mention that here in the other section. We are also contemplating whether to host just virtual spiritual retreat. This is something we have been discussing for long. And if you'd be interested to spend a few hours to dive deeper into spiritual topics over one of the evenings or weekends, please do let us know. We do plan to add wisdom, practice, as well as some music and entertainment together, like spiritual knowledge, etc., together on that. So it will be benefit tremendously if you can let us know. And also what time might work for you, whether it's weekdays, Fridays or Saturdays, just to get an idea. That will benefit as well. And any other help, any other suggestions you may have so that we can improve and grow the community. So those are the items I wanted to quickly walk through. And if you have any questions on the Spiritual Fitness Challenge or the survey itself, please let me know. So all the respective leaders of your organization, they'll be reaching out, sending the survey later today. So please do fill in and help us plan our program for next year. Anything else you wanted to add, Avesh?
Well done. Yeah, it's really helpful to hear what you're interested in or the things that are most desired by you for topics, or what are the things you'd like to do, because we're really trying to respond to any ideas or needs, interests, concerns that all of you have, and deeply appreciate even the smallest comments that you make. What to speak of filling out a survey, make a huge difference. So thank you for considering it.
Thank you. I can bring back the presentation. I'm able to see the presentation and what I said. Yes.
See, it's a kind of illusory medium. Okay, so what we see in the world is the morphing of energies, and our body's included in that. And this energy of this world is categorized as Prakriti, it's a different category than you are. So you're watching it, and it may change from one form to another right before your eyes. Your very body changes. This is one of the point that's made in the Bhagavad Gita, that your body is constantly changing. So don't think it's one thing. It's always something different. You know, when you're growing up and you meet people that haven't seen you for 6 months or a year, and they go, "Oh, you've changed." And like, yeah, I'm always changing. The body's constantly changing. But the point here is, on the metaphysical level, you're not changing. You're observing the changes, and you're different from your body. So yoga is the way in which we release ourselves from illusion. It's actually a process. And where is the illusion manufactured? In the mind. It is the mirror upon which we observe the reflection of the world. And there are combinations and permutations of images that through which we interpret what's going on in the world, but that may not be accurate. So here's perhaps a useful definition of yoga. Yoga is a practice that empowers you to overcome the obstacle of your mind so that you can experience your own true nature. Spoiler alert, your own true nature is really good. You don't have to become something you're not. You don't have to become something else, because what you are already is so fulfilling that all you have to do really is observe it and be situated in your original constitutional consciousness. It's fulfilling in and of itself. So here are the three forces that govern the physical world according to the yoga philosophy. Time, which is also called kala. Modes of nature, called the gunas, which is also means ropes. That's why you see in that picture the two men engaged in conversation below are being manipulated by the modalities personified there, but they're called sattva, rajas, and tamas. They're three very powerful modalities. And then all the way to the right is karma. And these are three distinct forces that we contend with on a moment-to-moment basis here in this world. And yoga teaches us to rise above these forces in various ways. So time is also sometimes described as destiny. It's a natural force that ceaselessly changes and ultimately destroys everything composed of matter. So we're not composed of matter, as I've said several times in this one monologue. We are something different from matter. Therefore, the physical world's always changing, and time is basically rearranging it and even crushing it. Everything is being disposed of through the powerful energy of time. What's more, everything is accounted for in the spool of time. Whatever happens is recorded and is carried out through the powerful energy of time. Next is the modes of nature, and we've talked a lot about this on this program, the three modalities. They're energetic qualities. Qualities is a key word here, that produce variety and influence one's mind, character, and perception. Our mind, character, and perception. The three modalities are called sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is light, clarity, virtue. Rajas is intense endeavor and desire with no cessation. In other words, no matter what you get, it's not enough. There's a restlessness in rajas. And tamas is inertia, darkness, or ignorance. It's really suffering, actually. There are combinations and permutations of these qualities that affect us at every moment. And one of the ways in which we come out of this is through the practice of yoga. And we'll talk about that, how to do that in just a second. And the third force is karma, characterized by appropriate reactions to our actions. So when I say appropriate, it means that we're causing it. In other words, whatever is coming to us is a result of something we've done. That's actually good news, because if it were random, we'd be in big trouble. It means there's nothing you can do about it. Karma is not permanent. It can be curtailed. So it's also described here, action pertaining to development of one's material body and circumstances. Let's just go into the gallery for 1 second or a couple of minutes. And that is described, perhaps you heard the talk on the Yoga Sutras where Patanjali, the ancient sage who compiled that literature on yoga psychology, described how we're creating our bodies. The way in which you might walk on a sandy, wet beach and then leave your footprints. Now, if someone were to come and fill those footprints with plaster of Paris and make a mold, they would perfectly resemble your footprint. And then you could reconstruct, a body out of that, or at least a foot from that mold. So the thoughts we make are impressions that get filled up when we take a new body in this world. And therefore, the body we have now is a filling up of the mental impressions that we've developed over time. And therefore, we're creating our reality, or I should say we're creating our environment. The bodies that we have, the kinds of situations that we enter into at the time that we come out into this world, which is called jati, our birth, and our ayu, the lifespan that we have. These are determined by our own mental states in the life we're in now that will create the next situation for us in the future. Therefore, there's great emphasis on reforming and purifying the mind. What's more, the last point about karma, it's enacted within the mind, because the impressions I now have within my mind are what compel me to make various kinds of decisions. That means that past impressions, which are influencing me now to act in particular ways, are called karma. So karma is taking place within the mind. However, we can stop karma. Karma can come to an end. It's not that we have to be compelled. We can become freed from the chain of karma through the practice of yoga. Okay, so let's just take a second and see if there's any reflections or questions where you'd like to test the philosophy a little bit, stress test it if you wish. And before I go into the last section, which will be a description of practices that you can integrate into your life now, no matter where you live, whether it be Silicon Valley or Portland, Oregon. Could you do it in, I don't know, Muscat, the Middle East? I talked to people in Muscat this morning. Could it be practiced anywhere? Yes, it could be. So, any reflections?
So you can unmute yourself and ask the questions, or type it in Zoom or on Facebook. I have Shweka helping me out in managing social media, so she'll be gladly bring it up in Zoom.
I know that puts a lot of pressure on me asking you to reflect, but just in case, because it really brings it to another level. Anything that you heard so far that's stuck in your mind?
One thing, at least, which I was contemplating was time is destiny. So, like how what action we do now determines our destiny in future. I was trying to relate like that.
Yes. Have you ever felt the force of destiny in your life? In other words, you had a plan and destiny came along and moved you in a different direction? I hope I'm not the only one.
It happens every day.
It happens every day. You're feeling that force?
Yes.
Okay.
I liked when you said that yoga breaks the world into different categories of energies and that energies have purposes.
Yes. Thank you for bringing back that very practical point. When we know the ways that, or the results we're going to get from interacting with various kinds of energies, then we can move deliberately in the world. And this is in the Upanishads, ancient literatures written in Sanskrit thousands of years ago. There's a very simple statement made that one should be aware of the energies that one is interacting with, because you're going to get different results. There are consequences for it. You know, once in a huge conference I took, there were a bunch of leaders there, and then they had a variety of presentations. And one of them was about active, if there is ever a circumstance where there was an active shooter, then, you know, how to survive. So the person presenting said, one of the points that he made in his short presentation was, that I remembered, that stupid gets you killed. Stupid gets you killed. So that made an impression upon me. So the wisdom literatures are called wisdom literatures for a reason. They're meant to make us wise and avoid doing things that will get us implicated more in the world. So the energies are a case of that. For instance, there are energies in this world that if you mingle with, they can really capture you, and it makes it difficult to make an escape later on. Can anybody think of a kind of habit or circumstance that could be really dangerous, that would be hard to get out of once you triggered it?
This is Yan Yan. I will share situation that I had with my dog. So I have this dog that I'll turn my video on, and I'll turn it. This lovely guy right here in the picture looks innocent and adorable, right?
Right.
And we were walking, and then my neighbor has a dog, more sturdy looking, but it's more of a safe guardian dog, right? And she usually lays in the front at the garage and just watches everybody go by, everything peaceful. However, on this day, my lovely dog walks by, and that guardian dog was just doing her job and say, woof, woof, who's there, right? Just kind of like, hey, I'm here, don't infringe on my property. And my dog turned around and looked at it and goes, what are you barking at? And that dog was like, yeah, I have every reason. And so the dog dashed at him, and he was like, what? Oh, very soon, in seconds, these two are in serious fights. And that dog was an 80-pound dog and was chained to the porch. And she had so much force. She yanked the cable and the collar, and everything went with her. So she even had the cable attached to her, but still she was able to get him and put a puncture wound in him. And so that is kind of like, it's an animal, but it is like separately, they're all peaceful, calm, but just one bad look, bad energy that just escalated. And then you're in a big old mess. So,
Boy, that is a powerful example, because we've talked before.
it could happen in humans, like those bar fights.
definitely. What I was thinking of, I mentioned this before. What if you're driving in your car on the 101 freeway or any other freeway in Portland, Oregon, or Muscat in the Middle East, and you happen to look over in the car next to you, you just make your glance.
Oh,
You look at some driver and it's like, what? Why are you looking at me? It can cause a
exactly.
reaction. There's so many energies in this world that are reactive like that. And volatile. You have to be careful as you move through the world, not to activate one of those situations. Right.
And the situation got worse.
Yeah, that's good. That's going to stick with me, that image.
My boyfriend had another dog with him, and the dog knows not to confront the guardian dog directly. However, when the guardian dog got controlled, my other dog trying to help his sibling was starting to nipping at the dog's butt. And so it was like, nobody's thought of it. It was a mess. Kind of sometimes.
I like the imagery of dogs too. One of my colleagues often gives this example. Within us, we have a good dog and a bad dog. In other words, there's one that is sort of reckless and like, just do it. And the other one's like, no, we shouldn't do that. He said, so which one's stronger? And so he always likes to say the one you feed more. If you feed the good dog, then it gets strong. If you feed the bad dog, the one that's impulsive and just recklessly moves about the world, it nips at everything and starts fights and tears the porch apart, then that one gets stronger also. Oh boy, thank you very much. Well, here's a question from Blanca. How to identify one's true nature? How to absorb it? What a good question. Well, let's look at the last few slides. Okay, so here are 3 yoga practices that bring one above the ocean of complexity. And the first one is called Vairagya, and it deals with time energy. So Vairagya, rag really means like the color red and the interaction, that the mixing we have with the world in the sense of being attached to it in inordinate ways. Like I want to possess everything, I try to hold on to it. And Vairagya is a sense of perspective that really the world doesn't belong to me. And not only that, whatever I do have in my possession right now should be used for a higher purpose. And therefore, there's a sense of flexibility amidst change. This is what Vairagya means. Even as the world's changing, I'm flexible amidst that energy. Whatever I have in my possession, I have a sense that I'm a custodian. I'm not the owner. I'm using it for a higher purpose. It's not mine to keep. That's reality. And it's a very refreshing way to interact with the things that you have in your life. And all the situations we're in right now are going to change. So when you have Vairagya, when you develop this Vairagya, first of all, by hearing about the nature of the world and being reasonable about how you interact with it, and also by developing an inner strength within your own heart to actually work in ways that are more attuned with your higher nature, which is that you are a non-neural, non-temporal, sentient being who is oriented towards serving the whole. And when you're situated in selfless service, you can actually use all the things that you have for a higher purpose, and they don't become oppressive, and you have flexibility. The second is in relationship to the modalities. I mentioned the modalities are like ropes. They hold on to us and they control us in various ways. Like in the middle mode called Rajas, we're susceptible to anger or reaction to circumstances. Anybody here ever become angry? Thanks. Jan, you put it back so I could just see anybody responding. How did it feel? Did it feel like you had been controlled? And have you ever had this sense when after you became angry that you said, oh, I really blew it. I shouldn't have done that. So it was as if somebody pushed you and said, say this, and then you say it. And it's like, what did I say that for? And, it can be much worse than that. People start wars and both sides get destroyed because of a sense of anger. Like, how dare you? And then boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, everything's wrecked. Thanks a lot, everybody. We spent all our money and both sides are ruined. Anger is very powerful energy in this world. It comes from Rajas. So these three modalities, we have to learn to interact with them without becoming sullied. So let's look at that again. What is the remedy for that, for the modalities? How to not be entangled by the three modalities? Well, the wisdom literatures say by refined association. Refined means that somebody who already has worked on him or herself and is not susceptible to the modalities. They're not influenced by them. And when we associate, the word sangha means that you have a connection with people who are refined. And that sangha can also take place through, for instance, literature. If you read the thoughts of those who are highly refined, then you take those idea seeds into your mind and they help to culture your own mind and your habits. And what to speak if you can spend time with people and interact with high-minded people who are working on a spiritual level. This is called sadhu sangha, or association with those who have a spiritual practice. It's amazing because we are totally open to suggestion and we are products of our association. This is one of the basic tenets of yoga philosophy. Whomever you associate with, you become like. And finally, for karma, I said it, karma can be overcome. So you'll notice that the word here next to the bullet is not karma, but it's akarma. And grammatically, when you put an A in front of a word in Sanskrit, most of the time it reverses the meaning. So karma, or work that has a reaction, can be turned into non-reactive work according to your intention. So when you work with the intention of service rather than reward seeking, it changes the entanglement of that work into non-reactive work. That's a mouthful, but the principle is very simple: selfless service. So someone might say, well, that doesn't sound like fun. I mean, that's not capitalism, is it? I mean, what are you, some kind of communist or something? I don't know. We're allergic to this kind of thinking sometimes. But fact of the matter is, it's a sublime way of life. No one who works in selfless service is ever deprived of anything. In fact, such a person who has that intention to serve others, even if a person develops compassion and really truly is enacting their work out of a sense of service to others, service to the complete whole, service to our original conscious source out of gratitude, then the work becomes non-reactive. The karma wheel, which is spinning, it spins down and it stops. And you're no longer susceptible to the reactions of your work. So I know that's heady stuff and it's philosophical, but these are the basic tenets of yoga teaching that can be integrated into your daily life. And to the degree that you try them out and you integrate them into your life, these three principles, that is vairagya, a sense of flexibility through perspective gained through the practice of yoga, association with those who are refined, and also the third, which is non-reactive work, practicing doing anonymous or selfless service for service, not for reward seeking, or giving away some of the fruit of the work that you're already doing for your maintenance, which you have to do, you have to maintain, but giving away some of it for a higher purpose. you'll notice that you expand. You become bigger, there's more space for you, and you become happier. And here's an added point that you're really going to like. I guarantee it, or your money back from today's seminar. And that is, don't worry about giving something away preemptively because, and I say preemptive because it's going to be taken away anyway. So give away some of what you have for a higher cause and watch yourself become a bigger person. And you'll also notice that the universe will not deprive you of the bare necessities of life, or even an abundance of goods and people that you need in your life to be whole and happy according to the hierarchy of needs. So those are a few points. I again ran out the clock, but just in case you have a minute or two left and you want to make a reflection or a point, please feel free. I like what Charles said about the rabbit hole that is social media. Well put. Better to surround yourself with stimuli that bring you into higher habits. Like if you have them around and you by increments you move into a higher better habits, like the meditation we do at the beginning. Have it set up so your day is triggered by a positive stimuli. Okay, JM, let's see if there's any reflections or questions.
Sure. Please feel free to ask any questions.
Okay, I have a question.
Yay.
Yeah, hi. So, you talked about anger, and, whenever I feel angry and in that moment, I feel empowered. But when I let go of my anger, I felt I was powerless in that moment because I couldn't control myself, and hence I couldn't control the situation. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that feeling.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's two things. You can use your anger or lose your anger. Of course, using your anger is a very tricky thing because you can always just then get angry and say, yeah, I meant to do that. The preponderance of teachings about anger in the wisdom literatures are that be very careful of it, because it's an energy that burns. It's like fire. And better to prepare yourself to create some space so that you don't react. You deal with situations by your intelligence rather than with your mind. And so when you do that, then, and when you create a little space, a little perspective, or what I talked about, remember, vairagya, or a little flexibility, detachment, mind like water. So when the situation comes, it's aggravating, frustrating, you didn't get what you want, and you feel that fire coming up within you, you develop the wherewithal to create a space and step back from it and let it burn. It will burn itself out without you grabbing onto it. So one of the ways to do that is through your spiritual practice. For instance, if you start in the morning with some mantra meditation and you get your own experience that, hey, the world's spinning. I don't have to take on every problem of the world, and I don't have to react to everything that happens to me. You'll be very much prepared for when things do come that would normally make you react. You have a sense that it's okay, and you'll be rewarded for that. There's always a fruit for not reacting to anger also, which reinforces your good behavior. So it's one of the main practices to be careful of anger and to prepare yourself to not react to the world, but to analyze it, be a witness, and act according to your intelligence, not according to your mind.
Thank you. That was really good. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm happy. I'm so happy.
Can I?
Yes, please, Miriam.
Yeah. So actually, I really like the word that you said, that just pay attention to your intelligence, not your mind. So you just separating intelligence and mind. And actually, I see it. I kind of get it recently. So when I am thinking, okay, I have to send this email, or I'm just in a rush doing that, and suddenly my hand like go like something crazy, my heart pumping out, and suddenly like somebody come and say, try to talk to me. And that is to me intelligence, because my gut telling me, okay, wait, you shouldn't do that. And I can say like 90% of the time, if I don't listen to these intelligence around me that telling me don't do it, just in 5 minutes after I send that email, I feel like, oh no, I shouldn't do that. And all these things happen to tell me don't do it, but my mind telling me to do it. So it's definitely there is a separation between, not a separation, I would say mind is part of the intelligence. And there are other things that telling us all the time, don't do it or do this. And I was not listening to them until recently, I would say until last year. But when I started to listen to them, I feel like, oh my goodness, it's like much more intelligence around me than just my mind.
Yeah, brilliant analysis. And thank you for sharing that insight. It's really helpful because I'm sure, all of us go through a similar process. And when you become aware of your own internal process, that's part of actually the solution. Because when I'm carried away by anger, I'm not even thinking. I just get carried by it. I don't analyze, which part is which part is actually intellect, which part is the mind, and so forth. It just boom, it hits and it burns. There is a teaching in the Bhagavad Gita, and that is given by Krishna to Arjuna, where he's saying that fortify your intellect, your intelligence, because in the beginning, before you have a higher taste, when you fortify your intelligence, you can, as he says, overcome the lower self by the higher self. And it saves us from innumerable problems that come from reacting on a visceral level to kind of the animal nature, that, like the dog example. You looked at me, I'll tear the porch down and I'm going to bite you now. And, but we can actually develop that higher side of us. And there is a kind of universal intelligence you referred to. I mean, even we find that in many cultures who are attuned to the world and to the universe, for instance, the original population in America, very many of the tribes very attuned to this sense that there's a great spirit that's pervading, that's pervasive. It's everywhere. And it's coming into us all the time. You'll find that in the Vedas also. Yes, there is a universal intelligence. And when we amend the way we live, we can tune into that. And as you mentioned, you're becoming more tuned to that in your own practice. And that's enlightened life. Living in an enlightened way, we find these kinds of circumstances through which we have opportunities to not overreact and actually employ our higher intelligence and our spiritual practice. Thank you very much, Miriam. That was excellent. Okay, so let's just end with a couple of mantras so you can walk away with a little spiritual vibration. And in the repetition of mantra, you can actually do these throughout the day. It's not that you have to sit down in one place and meditate, although it really does help when you do mantra in the morning, at least for a little while. But when I'm walking, when I'm moving about doing other things, I also keep the mantra going, as is mentioned and advised in many of the wisdom literatures. And you can keep coming back to the mantra as a source of spiritual strength throughout the day. So mantra meditation, again, is channeling the avatar coming into you, bringing you a higher energy source that pulls you above the fray. So the first mantra is Nitai Gauranga. And this mantra brings the avatars Nitai and Gauranga. And so we'll say this 7 times behind muted mics and just get a feel for the mantra itself. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. And the next mantra is called the Maha Mantra. It has the combination of 3 words, Hare Krishna Rama, and each one of them are very powerful syllable combinations, like a spiritual formula that attracts the mind to the higher stratum, the spiritual stratum, where there's unlimited beauty. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you sign up for Spiritual Fitness, you'll notice that that is one of the practices. And if you try doing it for 21 days, a little bit every day or a lot as you wish, or throughout the day, you'll notice the effects, I promise you. And there are some other practices you can integrate into your life, and you'll notice the difference. And feel free to write up your experiences on the Spiritual Fitness blog about gratitude. And also we can discuss it when we meet again at various intervals. Thank you very much, JM, for facilitating all of us. And who is helping today?
Shweka.
Oh, thank you very much, Shweka. Bravo, well done. Thank you everyone for joining from various places, from everywhere. There's a Sanskrit way that sometimes we say when we're departing, that people say when they're leaving, which is, it kind of means like keep the transcendental vibration going. Yogis say it to each other. So like keep the vibration going, just as a reminder. And it goes, I'll write it in the chat box. And we could try saying it to each other as we leave. It goes like this. Hari, like this, is pronounced Hari, and Bol. These in Sanskrit. You try that, Hari Bol. So when we leave, just as a ritual, we can say, everyone can unmute and say, Hari Bol.
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 Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Haribol.
Hari Bol.